The Amityville Horror House remains a captivating subject, steeped in mystery and tragedy. With its iconic Dutch colonial architecture, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue has become synonymous with horror stories, its history drawing both skeptics and true believers alike. After the DeFeo family was brutally murdered inside, the house stood vacant for over a year, shrouded in a dark aura that permeated the neighborhood. When the Lutz family moved in, they hoped for a fresh start, unaware of the malevolent energy that lingered within the walls. They quickly encountered disturbing phenomena: cold spots, strange sounds, and unsettling apparitions that escalated from minor disturbances to terrifying experiences. The stories the Lutzes told were chilling doors slamming on their own, walls oozing strange substances, and the sensation of being watched. As they documented their experiences, the tension mounted. The family's youngest child claimed to see a ghostly figure of a little girl, and at night, they heard whispers echoing through the halls. Their 28-day stay ended in chaos, culminating in a frantic flight from the house. The ensuing media frenzy transformed their experiences into a cultural phenomenon, with the release of Jay Anson's book and the subsequent film cementing the Amityville story in the annals of horror history. Over the years, countless investigations have attempted to validate or debunk the claims. Paranormal researchers and thrill-seekers have flocked to the house, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Skeptics argue the Lutzes fabricated their experiences for fame and financial gain, while believers point to the house's dark history as proof of its haunted nature. Despite the controversies, the Amityville Horror House remains a powerful symbol of fear and intrigue. Whether seen as a mere tale of deception or as a genuine hotspot for paranormal activity, it continues to fascinate and terrify those who dare to explore its haunted legacy. The whispers of its past seem to echo through time, inviting both curiosity and caution. As the years passed, the Amityville Horror House became more than just a site of tragedy. It evolved into a cultural icon, its legend intertwining with the fabric of American horror. Tourists flocked to Ocean Avenue, eager to glimpse the infamous house, snapping pictures from across the street while sharing stories of the Lutz family's harrowing experiences. In the quiet town of Amityville, however, the residents had mixed feelings about the notoriety of the house. Some embraced the tourism, while others wished to distance themselves from the haunting legacy. Among them was a local historian named Sarah, who had spent years researching the house's dark history. Intrigued by the layers of truth and fiction, she began piecing together the stories of both the DeFeo and Lutz families, hoping to uncover something that had been lost in the sensationalism. She spent countless hours combing through police reports, newspaper clippings, and first-hand accounts, determined to separate fact from fiction. One evening, while sifting through a stack of old documents in her cramped office, Sarah stumbled upon a series of interviews conducted with neighbors during the DeFeo family's time in the house. A chilling detail caught her eye. Multiple witnesses reported seeing strange lights flickering in the windows and hearing unexplainable sounds emanating from within, long before the murders occurred. Fueled by curiosity, Sarah decided to delve deeper. She began reaching out to former residents of Amityville, hoping to uncover their memories and experiences. Many spoke of a lingering sense of dread associated with the house, and some even claimed to have felt an inexplicable pull toward it. With each story, Sarah felt a growing urgency to visit the house herself. Armed with a camera and her notebook, she made her way to 112 Ocean Avenue one crisp autumn evening. The sun was setting, casting an eerie glow over the property. As she approached, the familiar sense of foreboding washed over her, but she pressed on. Standing before the house, she noticed its iconic features: the slanted roof, the wide front porch, and the hauntingly empty windows that seemed to watch her every move. As she took a deep breath and stepped onto the property, she felt an electric energy in the air, as if the house itself was alive. With her camera in hand, Sarah began documenting the exterior, taking photos from various angles. Suddenly, she felt a chill sweep through the air, and a gust of wind rustled the leaves around her. It sent a shiver down her spine, but she pushed the feeling aside, attributing it to her nerves. Determined to uncover the truth, she turned her attention to the backyard, where the dense trees loomed like sentinels. As she walked further, She noticed a small shed in the corner of the yard, partially hidden by overgrown foliage. Curiosity piqued. She approached, brushing aside branches to reveal a rusted latch. The door creaked open, revealing a dark interior filled with dust and cobwebs. As her flashlight beam cut through the gloom, Sarah spotted an array of old tools and forgotten relics. But what caught her eye was a collection of weathered boxes stacked in the corner. Drawn to them, she carefully opened the first box and found it filled with old photographs, many depicting the DeFeo family in happier times. Among the photos was a journal, its cover worn and faded. With trembling hands, Sarah opened it and began to read, her heart racing. The entries detailed the family's life, interspersed with hints of turmoil and dread. The further she read, the more she sensed the darkness that had seeped into their lives. As she turned the pages, a sudden crash echoed from inside the house, making her jump. Heart pounding, she instinctively grabbed her camera and moved toward the noise, feeling an invisible force drawing her inside. The front door stood ajar, swinging slightly as if beckoning her to enter. With a mix of trepidation and resolve, Sarah stepped inside the dimly lit foyer. The air felt thick with history, and the silence was almost deafening. Shadows danced along the walls, and the remnants of the past whispered through the air. As she walked deeper into the house, she felt an overwhelming sense of being watched, the weight of countless eyes upon her. In the living room, the furniture lay covered in dust, remnants of the Lutz family's brief stay still visible. She felt an inexplicable connection to the space, as if the echoes of laughter and screams lingered within the walls. Sarah set her camera down to capture the atmosphere, but as she turned to take a photograph, she caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of her eye. Her breath caught in her throat as she spun around, and in that instant, she saw a fleeting shadow darting past the hallway. Instinctively, she followed, heart racing. The shadow led her to the kitchen, where the air felt heavy with tension. It was as if the house was urging her to uncover its secrets. Suddenly, the temperature dropped dramatically, and she felt a rush of cold air sweep through the room. Goosebumps rose on her skin as she called out, "Is anyone here?" Silence greeted her, but she could feel the weight of presence all around her. With renewed determination, Sarah set her sights on the basement door, slightly ajar and beckoning. She knew this was where the heart of the mystery lay. As she descended the stairs, the darkness enveloped her, and a sense of foreboding washed over her. At the bottom, the basement was musty and dimly lit. Old furniture and boxes were scattered throughout, but what caught her attention was a peculiar old mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. Drawn to it, Sarah approached, feeling an odd energy radiating from the glass. As she peered into the mirror, she was startled to see not just her reflection, but shadows moving behind her. Before she could turn, a chilling whisper filled the air. "Help us," the voice echoed, sending a jolt of fear through her. Clara's heart raced as she recognized it. The voice belonged to Eleanor from the Amityville story, reaching out from beyond the veil. Torn between fear and curiosity, Sarah steadied herself. "How can I help?" she whispered into the darkness, feeling the weight of the house's sorrow press against her. Suddenly, the shadows converged, swirling around her as if trying to communicate. Sarah's mind raced with thoughts of the DeFeo family, the Lutzes, and the countless lives touched by the horror of the house. Determined to bring peace to the spirits trapped within, she knew she had to confront the truth head-on. As the shadows danced closer, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to uncover the darkest secrets that had haunted the Amityville Horror House for decades, hoping to finally bring light to the tragic history that lay hidden in the shadows. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. As the shadows enveloped her, Sarah felt a surge of energy coursing through her, igniting a sense of purpose she hadn't anticipated. "I will help you," she declared, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped her heart. "Tell me what you need." In response, the shadows seemed to pull back momentarily, allowing her to breathe. Flickering images danced before her eyes, fragments of memories intertwined with moments of anguish. She saw flashes of the DeFeo family laughing together, interspersed with scenes of violence and fear. The emotional intensity was overwhelming, and Sarah felt the weight of their pain pressing against her chest. "Show me," she urged, clutching the edge of the mirror. "What happened here?" Suddenly, the air thickened, and she was plunged into a vision. The basement faded away, replaced by the DeFeo home during happier times. She stood in the living room, where the family gathered around a holiday dinner. Laughter echoed in her ears, but it quickly morphed into hushed whispers and muffled arguments. Sarah felt the tension rise, the underlying turmoil that had long plagued the family. As the vision shifted, the atmosphere turned dark. She witnessed the fateful night unfold, the chaos, the desperation, the darkness that enveloped Ronald DeFeo Jr. as he succumbed to madness. The horror was palpable, and Sarah felt a deep sense of sorrow for the family, trapped in their own hell. She gasped as the scene shifted again, revealing the aftermath of the murders. The house stood silent, a tomb of memories and secrets. Sarah sensed the lingering souls of the DeFeos, their spirits trapped within the walls, unable to find peace. "Help us," the whisper echoed again, more insistent this time. It resonated in her core, filling her with urgency. Determined to free them, Sarah focused on the mirror, searching for answers. "What do you need from me?" she asked, her voice a mixture of fear and resolve. The reflection rippled, showing her a flicker of light amidst the darkness. It was a sign something important had been left behind, a piece of the puzzle. The vision began to fade, and Sarah found herself back in the basement, breathing heavily. The mirror now glowed faintly, pulsing with a rhythmic energy. Understanding dawned on her. There was something within the house that needed to be acknowledged, a truth that had to be revealed to lay the spirits to rest. With renewed determination, she scanned the basement, searching for any clues. Her gaze landed on a small trunk tucked away in the corner, almost hidden beneath a pile of old blankets. Heart racing, she moved towards it, the air thick with anticipation. As she opened the trunk, a musty odor wafted out, and her eyes widened. Inside, she discovered a collection of personal items, letters, photographs, and keepsakes that belonged to the DeFeo family. Each item seemed to pulse with energy, and Sarah felt an inexplicable connection to them. Among the letters, one caught her eye, a note from Eleanor to her mother, filled with affection and innocence. It spoke of dreams for the future, of hope amidst the darkness. Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she realized that this glimpse into the family's life was the key to understanding their struggles. "Maybe this is what you need," she murmured, holding the letter tightly. "Your story deserves to be told." As she stepped back, the shadows flickered and swirled around her, almost as if they were listening, awaiting her next move. The atmosphere shifted again, thick with anticipation. She understood now that this was not just about the DeFeo family, but also about the Lutzes and the trauma that had ensued. With a surge of courage, Sarah decided to bring the letters and keepsakes back to the community. They deserved recognition, a chance for their stories to be shared. Perhaps by doing so, she could lift the weight that bound their spirits to the house. As she began gathering the items from the trunk, she felt the presence of the spirits around her, a mixture of hope and apprehension. They were urging her forward, their energy filling the air with an intensity that was both frightening and exhilarating. Just as she closed the trunk, the basement door slammed shut, plunging her back into darkness. Panic set in as she turned toward the door, finding it locked tight. "Let me out!" she shouted, but the shadows began to coalesce around her, whispering frantically. In that moment, Sarah realized she had to face her own fears. She couldn't let the darkness win. "I am here to help you," she cried, channeling all her energy into her words. "You will not be forgotten. Your stories will be told." The shadows writhed, and she felt a powerful surge of energy crash over her, like a wave breaking against a shore. The whispers intensified, growing louder, filling her ears with the cacophony of emotions trapped within the house. Suddenly, the door burst open, light flooding in. Sarah stumbled forward, shielded from the shadows that clawed at her heels. She emerged into the hallway, gasping for breath, feeling the weight of the house's history pressing upon her. Determined, She clutched the trunk tightly, ready to share the stories hidden within its depths. As she made her way outside, she felt the presence of the DeFeo family behind her, watching, waiting, hoping. She knew that this was only the beginning. The truth needed to be unveiled, not just for the family, but for all those affected by the haunting legacy of the Amityville Horror House. With the trunk in tow, Sarah set off toward the community center, her heart racing with the knowledge that she was about to change the narrative. The shadows might linger, but she was ready to confront them, to ensure that the past would no longer hold power over the present. The stories would be told, and perhaps then, the spirits would find their peace at last. As Sarah made her way to the community center, she felt a sense of urgency propelling her forward. The trunk felt heavy in her arms, but it was a weight she was determined to carry. The whispers of the past echoed in her mind, urging her to share what she had discovered. Arriving at the community center, she burst through the doors, breathless and energized. The room was quiet, but the faint sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway as a few locals gathered for an evening meeting. They looked up, curiosity piqued by Sarah's frantic entrance. "Everyone, I need your attention," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I've uncovered something important about the DeFeo family and the history of the Amityville Horror House. It's time we acknowledge their stories and bring them into the light." A murmur spread through the group, but Sarah pressed on, opening the trunk to reveal the letters and photographs inside. "These are pieces of their lives, moments of joy and sorrow that we need to remember," she explained, holding up the letter from Eleanor. "This isn't just about the horror that occurred. It's about the humanity that existed before it." As she shared the contents of the trunk, she saw expressions of shock, empathy, and understanding wash over the crowd. They listened intently as she recounted the tales of the DeFeo family, of their dreams, struggles, and the tragic events that followed. Each story painted a fuller picture of the lives that had been lost and the suffering that had lingered. As she spoke, she noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The weight of sorrow that had once permeated the room began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of purpose and connection. The community members started sharing their own memories and stories, weaving a tapestry of experiences that brought them closer together. One elderly woman, a longtime resident of Amityville, stood up. "I remember Eleanor when she was just a little girl," she said, her voice quavering. "She was full of laughter, always playing in the yard. It's time we honor her memory and those of her family." With each new voice, the room filled with collective grief, but also with hope. They decided to hold a memorial for the DeFeo family, a chance to acknowledge their lives and the tragedy that had unfolded. Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her as they rallied together, determined to reclaim the narrative of the house from the shadows that had long overshadowed it. The days that followed were filled with preparation and reflection. The community came together to plan the memorial, sharing stories, creating artwork, and even organizing a candlelight vigil. As Sarah helped coordinate, she felt the spirits of the DeFeo family surrounding her, their energy lifting her spirits and guiding her efforts. On the day of the memorial, the sun shone brightly over Amityville. A crowd gathered at the community center, and Sarah stood at the forefront, ready to speak. The atmosphere was charged with emotion as she addressed the gathering. "Today, we honor the DeFeo family," she began, her voice steady. "We remember not just the tragedy that befell them, but the love and joy they brought to this community. It's time we give them the peace they deserve." As she spoke, she could feel a gentle presence around her, as if the spirits were listening, finally at rest. The crowd lit candles, their flickering flames symbolizing hope and remembrance. Stories were shared, laughter mingled with tears, and for the first time in years, the community felt a sense of healing. As the evening drew to a close, Sarah felt a warmth enveloping her. The whispers had quieted, and in their place was a profound sense of connection. She realized that by bringing the past into the light, she had not only helped the spirits of the DeFeo family find peace, but had also united her community in the process. That night, as Sarah returned home, she glanced back at the Amityville Horror House, its silhouette framed against the starry sky. It still stood there, a witness to the horrors of the past. But now it was also a symbol of resilience, remembrance, and hope. The stories of the DeFeo family were finally being told, and as she closed her eyes, Sarah felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. The shadows may linger, but they no longer held power over the hearts of those who chose to remember. The house would continue to be part of the community's history, but it was a history woven with compassion, understanding, and the courage to confront the darkness. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.